So I've spent a lot of time in a hospital recently. Not myself as a patient, but I have spent quite a bit of time just in the past week inside the four walls of a hospital. Now everybody has problems. I have problems, you have problems, the whole world's got problems. But there's a tendency when you are dealing with your problems that they consume your thoughts, that they become your only reality. And the reason I know this is, as a pastor, I get invited out to coffee frequently with people, and they don't invite me to coffee to tell me about how well their kids are doing in school or that they just got a promotion. They tend to invite me because their lives are falling apart and they need help. And people's lives are falling apart around us all of the time. And something I've come to realize is that just because you're on social media and you're engaged in online communities does not make you exempt from having problems. In fact, it typically means you have more problems of just other kinds. Now back to the hospital. Recently my wife was complaining of pain, and it was excruciating pain, so we brought her to the ER, which we don't typically do, and we were sitting in the ER and they ran some tests on her and they came back in. The doctor said these very chilling words: "You're bleeding internally, and if we don't operate immediately, you could die." Now, did I have problems walking into the hospital? Yeah, I had problems. We all have problems. It's amazing how small those problems became when you heard those words. If we don't operate now, you're going to die. Now, 3 o'clock in the morning, my wife had surgery to save her life. She's doing fine now. She's doing much better. The problem has ceased. We had good doctors. And in the wee hours of the morning, I discovered what Candy Crush was. That cursed game. But when we left the hospital the next day, did I still have those same problems? Yes. Were they of the same magnitude that I had built them up in my head? No. In fact, when we walked out of that hospital, I had never been so grateful for the life of my wife and my own life and just the blessings that we had around us. Perspective. It changed my perspective. Now the key is when you walk out of a situation like that and you have a change of perspective, the key is to keep that change of perspective. So you don't slip back into this idea of your problems are just this close and that's all you see. I was in another hospital room this past week. I went to MD Anderson to visit a little boy from our church who had cancer. And his cancer was bone cancer, and so they decided to amputate his leg. I walked into this room. I never met this little boy. I met his father, but I never met this little boy, and I didn't know what to expect. And I walk in, and this little boy, he's drawing on this page, and he looks up, and he has the biggest, most pure smile that I've ever seen in my life. Here's a kid who had some problems and could be really down and really bummed out about what has just taken place, but he is not any of that. He is grateful, and he is happy and smiling. His perspective's changed. One of the cool things he said, one of the first things that he said while we were sitting there, he looked at his father and said, "Dad, can we go to church on Sunday?" I remember being 11 years old, that was not something that I said to my parents, like ever. Now we all have problems, but I invite you to step outside of those things. You know, when you are so close to something that's all that you can see. So I'm not saying that you need to necessarily go visit people in the hospital, because if you don't know who they are, that could just be a little weird. But step outside of yourself. And not for the purposes of comparing yourself to someone else and what they're going through so you feel better about who you are. No, step outside of yourself so that you can see your own stuff, what you're dealing with, in perspective in light of what else is happening out there in the world. And then you may realize that something that you have blown up so big in your head is in reality pretty insignificant. And if not insignificant, then at least manageable. I've spent some time in the hospital recently, and it changed the way I saw life. I hope the same for you. As always, leave me your thoughts in a comment down below. If you like this video, please press like and subscribe. If you want to hear my thoughts throughout the week, my musings on life, you can follow me on Twitter at DavidDorn2, and I have a book. If you're interested in reading, it's called Reclaiming Anger. The link is down below. I hope you have a great day. God bless.